Welcome to the On the Air podcast, a companion to On the Air magazine, a bi-monthly magazine from ARRL for beginner to intermediate ham radio licensees. I'm your host and the editor of On the Air, Becky Schoenfeld, W1BXY. Every month, the On the Air podcast extends material found in On the Air magazine to help you learn about the many things the ham radio service and hobby have to offer. The On the Air podcast is sponsored by ICOM for the love of ham radio. Welcome to the October 2024 episode. This month we're going to take a closer look at material from the September-October 2024 issue, specifically the article Emergency Management Taskbook Updates. The ARES Taskbook is an important resource for amateur radio operators who hope to be of service to their communities. And with me today to talk about the Taskbook's place in a ham's training, as well as the recent updates to the Taskbook, is ARRL Director of Emergency Management, Josh Johnston, KE5MHV. Welcome, Josh.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. So, first of all, what exactly is a task book? Is it like a workbook? Is it a reference?
It's a little bit of both.
Yeah.
The definition in the in the task book briefly is task book is a working document that enables those ARES communicators electing to participate in ARRL training to plan to track and document their training elements and what they're doing and going through. The task book lays out both practical and educational items that they should complete, and then it gives a way to document that they have completed them and give sign-off on tasks that they perform from leadership that they're working with to work through.
Okay. Do you have to be part of an ARES group in order to work a task book, or is it a good practice and resource for any ham?
You don't have to be a member of an ARES group. In some cases, you're going to have to get someone to sign off on things. So another ham that's involved with other things, and in some cases, it would be best to be a ARES leader or someone like that, but it's not necessarily mandatory. No.
Okay, so the sign-off process, so that is a literal physical signing off on the book, and so who signs off? Is it a certain position within ARES?
We don't require it necessarily to be a certain position for most things. It's usually just another ham that would be experienced with doing these things. In some cases, it would be recommended, for instance, if they've completed a book or one of our courses, that they take it, they show it to their ARES EC, their leadership locally, and they can sign off on it. And as you move up in the advanced, there's going to be an opportunity for possibly even the section emergency coordinator to sign off on some things there. So
once somebody has a completed and signed off task book, do you have to show that as proof in order to be able to participate? It's a good idea. For instance, I have completed an ARES task book in years past, but I've also completed the communications unit leader that's a course provided by FEMA. And in those task books, I actually keep a file of that with me anytime I'm traveling. So if I were to get deployed somewhere, I can show and prove that I have completed recognized training that's recognized around the country. Okay. So it's proof. It's sort of a credential. It's sort of a credentialing process. Okay. Yes. Great. So you mentioned advanced levels. So there are three levels actually: basic, intermediate, and advanced. Right. So what differentiates these levels, and who are they for? Well, they all build on each other. So you have to complete basic before you can do, especially in the task book, you have to complete basic before you can complete intermediate, before you can complete advanced. The basic level is just for someone just getting involved, just learning. One of the big advancements we've made this year, or in this update of the task book, is now requiring minimum ICS training to be NIMS compliant under the presidential directives of NIMS and ICS, that all
all other emergency responders in the country are required to do.
The ICS being the Incident Command System.
Yes, thanks
so
for
that everybody is familiar with the Incident Command System and everybody's on the same page.
Right. So even at the basic level, we now require you to have just the basic ICS course, Incident Command System courses, which we recommended them before. They were optional before. We now are requiring them in our basic level course.
Yeah, and those courses, they're online, right?
They're all online.
They're free of charge.
Website. No cost to take them or anything like that.
Great.
Right.
So in working through the task books, so everybody has to start with basic regardless of how long they
start with basic because there are for instance, even on the Incident Command System courses, there are courses there that are required or recommended that you have to have completed the ones in the basic level before you can do that. So the same thing, you work through basic. Once you get basic done, then you work can begin working on advanced and going on. You can actually work on some of them together while you're working on them. You know, so just because you're doing, you know, for instance, we require, and I'm not going back to the ICS courses, we require in level 2, or not in level 2, but in intermediate, we require ICS 200. So if you take ICS 100 and you want to go ahead and do ICS 200 real quick, you're fine to do that. 100 is in basic, 200 is in intermediate. Yep. So you're welcome to go ahead and do both of those courses at the same time while your mind's fresh on those things.
So I've heard of some folks working on certain task book projects in a group as well as individually. How does that work when that happens?
We've in the past, I've been involved with what we called a communications exercise, a COMEX, where we brought a group of people together and had workstations that people had to complete tasks. Once they've completed their coursework, there's also hands-on learning within the task books, and that's especially a good time to do that. Some of that may be building a dipole antenna, or some of it may be you may be required to, not particularly in ours, but in others I've had to do where you had to put a cable together. You have to learn to do some basic skills. Well, you can have stations set up and people that are there providing the assistance for the course that are signing off then, yes, I've seen this person complete this. So it works good as either a club activity or a ARES group activity or whatever, to get together, have a meeting night and say, tonight we're going to do this task and this task. And everybody in the room can work through the task book together then that way.
Is there are task books open-ended, or is there a certain period in which it's expected that you're going to complete a task book?
We don't require ours. Ours are open-ended. There are some out there that say it must be complete within a year, so on and so forth. But we don't, and part of that is because one of the important things to understand about our ARRL task book is we consider it the minimum standard training, the minimum level. And even in the task book, there's a lot of blank space because we expect the local ARES group or the local leadership to add to. Even the county local emergency management can say, hey, I need you guys to also have this course, and this course. Well, then you can add those courses into, or this task into the task book in addition to what we do. So by doing that, it allows your local leadership to build the level of training that fits their local area.
I see. Okay. So so you've got a printout of it here. So this is available online.
It is available online. We've got it both in PDF, fillable PDF, and just a Word document, so it can be done either way.
So what kinds of tasks are folks expected to complete in here?
Proficiency skills, for instance, and one of the other changes we made too is we made required, optional, and encouraged. So we can specify, this is not mandatory, but you really should give it some. This is our intermediate level that I'm looking at particularly. It's got the courses that we mentioned at the top. We've got participation, which means participating in a net once a quarter, public service event participation, simulated emergency test and then optional is serving as a net control operator.
Yeah, I see the ICS courses are mostly R for required.
Right.
A couple of them are E for encouraged.
And then you get down here, proficiency and skills. Program tone into an HT. That should be required into a handheld radio. Program frequency and offset into a radio is required. Write and send an ICS 213 message. That's required in this now. And then two optional are operate VHF digital messaging station, operate unit-specific digital VHF or HF station. So either whether you use Vera for WinLink or Pactor or whatever in that situation. And then encouraged, build a simple dipole antenna, build a power pole type power cable, solder a PL259 connector to coax, or assemble a 24-hour deployment kit. All of those are encouraged. So just those examples.
Yeah, and as you read through those, I could clearly see a mix of some things that folks could do on their own, like the dipole, and some things that they might be able to accomplish during, as you said, like an exercise.
Exactly. And for instance, building the simple dipole, build it at home, bring it to your next club meeting, show them, hey, I got it built. They look at it, test it, make sure it works, and then they could sign off there and say, sure, it's done. Good job.
Great. So. So the task book was updated this year after a long period of
as we were going through our course updates, it was apparent we also needed to update the task book. One of the things that we've had people say since before I came here to ARRL is the lack of the requirements for NIMS for everybody. That was one of the things immediately the group that the ARES, I worked with the ARES working group with the Emergency Communications Field Services Committee on this course, or on this update to the task book, and one of the things that immediately came out was everybody agreed that needed to be added. So that was an easy thing to come up with. But we've also, some of the FEMA courses and ICS courses have changed a little bit, just their numbering or what it's called or some things. So we needed to update that. But yes, this is the first update we've had in several years to the task book.
Great. So we've got the updated task book that has been freshened to go along with the updated courses.
Exactly.
And all of this is available online.
Yes.
And anything else that you feel folks need to know about the updated task book?
No, I would just encourage everyone, if you started on the other one and you didn't, if you'll look, there's a lot of those tasks that are still the same.
Oh, yeah.
So don't be overwhelmed by, it's a new task book, I need to start over. There's a lot of things you're going to find that you've already done.
Oh, okay.
Or yeah, that makes sense. This is a pretty easy thing for us to do. So we don't intend this to be overwhelming, but the big thing that I would encourage is remember, especially local levels, this is our minimum level. This is not the ultimate, this shall be your training. So if you've got a local served agency that you're working with, or you know, whether it be an emergency management group or a CERT team or whoever, if they want to say, hey, we also want all of our members to have CERT training, that we understand that. Because where I'm from originally, we had a nuclear power plant. We were just outside of our county, and we were part of that response for plan if there was ever an incident at the power plant. We required all of our personnel to get radiation monitoring training, which we provided the course. We set up times for them to be able to take the courses, but we required everyone to take those courses in addition to what was in the textbooks.
So what kind of service or assignments can a ham who's completed the basic level expect to be able to do? Basic
level is going to be there again, this can vary slightly locally or whatever. Basic is going to be handling traffic, passing information, such as the disasters we've had in the southeast. If if you're at a home station and you've got internet and you've got radio communications with someone inside the affected area, and you can relay traffic back and forth for people there, that's a perfect example of the basic level. Intermediate is going to be somebody that may be deployed to a field site that may be setting up with a portable station, setting up and operating from there at a staging site or whatever, outside working with a command post. That's going to be more of your intermediate, and then the advanced is just a step above that and moving on forward from there.
Okay, great. So the task book is a way for to ensure that everyone's got uniform training, they're trained in the ICS, and that they have certain basic practical skills so that if you're passing traffic, you know how to do that. If you're out in the field and an antenna needs to be deployed, you know how to do that. It's a way to make sure that everyone's got the same basic minimum level of skills and information.
Right. That's exactly right.
Great, good stuff.
All right.
Well, thank you so much, Josh, for being here today.
Thanks again for having me, and always look forward to coming on and trying to share information.
Thanks very much.
Thanks.
So I hope you've enjoyed this episode, which took a deeper dive into material from the September-October 2024 issue of On the Air. The On the Air podcast will be back in November. In the meantime, feel free to send comments to ota@arrl.org, or you can learn more about ARRL at arrl.org. Until next time, I'm Becky Schoenfeld, W1BXY 73.